Hi, I'm Thea, and today I'm going to be showing you how I carve a spoon. We'll be making a round serving spoon, and the piece I have is a bit of walnut. I mostly use reclaimed wood, and so that's dried. I get it from a local supplier and just use their offcuts. And I've already cut it out on the bandsaw. If you're doing that yourself, you can use a jigsaw or just a handsaw and just get the rough outline. I've also made a mark where I want to hollow out, so that just is a good guide for you as you're working. So to start off, we're going to hollow out the centre. There's two ways you can do that. You can either use a hook knife like this, which is really great if you're starting out because you can carve the whole spoon with just these two tools, so a hook knife and a straight knife. They're also really good because if you want to carve outside, like if you're camping or something like that, you can just take those with you and that's all you need to work with. I usually use a chisel just because it's a little bit easier to work with harder woods if you're using a chisel, and it makes it a bit faster as well. But I do use both. So if you're using a chisel, you need to secure it to a bench or table or whatever you have with a vise or just a clamp. So we'll clamp that on. So something that's really important that I should bring out, and everybody will tell you this, is it's important to have sharp tools. So I've already sharpened all my tools ready to go, and it's good practice to do that regularly while you're working. It's really dangerous to work with blunt tools, and it just makes it less enjoyable, and the end product will be not as good. So yeah, make sure you have sharp tools, and just think about, before you take the cut, just think about where your tool's going to end up. So make sure that you're not holding your hand in front and kind of, working with your hand in front. It sounds really obvious, but as you're going, it's so easy to, if you're rushing or don't think about it, it's easy to do. So just make sure your hand is behind the tool, and just try and at this stage you're just trying to get the material out. If the wood you're working with is really hard, you can use a hammer and just guide the chisel through. This is not too bad, so I'll just... Great. So, and you can also use a combination of two, which I do quite often. I'll rough it out with the chisel and then kind of neaten it up with the hook knife. It's good to get a nice smooth finish if you can with the tool. It'll save you a lot of time when it comes to sanding. So just get it to a shape that you're really happy with and get it as smooth as you can before you go to the next step. So once you've got a hollowed out section that's nice and smooth, we can start working on the back. With the back, if you imagine a line, an invisible line through the middle, you want to work from the middle towards the top and then from the middle towards the bottom there. So if you're trying to take a cut all the way through, you're going to get tear out through the middle. So yeah, just imagine there's a line through there and work in each direction from the top and then to the bottom. We're going to do that first off with a straight knife, and then just trying to get that edge off there. And I quite often push it into my body to kind of anchor it, and then you can go like that. And you can see here that the knife is not going towards my hand. You're kind of lifting up at the end, and you get a nice cut there, and your fingers are safe. So yeah, we'll work from the middle down here, and then from the middle towards the top. And at this stage, you don't need to worry too much about getting it perfect. You're just trying to get that rounded shape and get the material off, so you're working towards that kind of rounded, smooth shape, but you're just taking little cuts bit by bit. Like that. Once you have the general shape that you're going for, you can smooth that over with a spoke shave. It's kind of like a little plane with handles on the side, and you just pull it towards you, and it'll take all those bumps off that you've created with the knife chipping off. So it's really, it's a really great tool to just smooth over once you've taken all those cuts and you've got, the general shape. It'll just smooth it all over, and you'll end up with something like this. So it's nice and smooth, and you won't have to do too much sanding. So that's one of my favourite tools, a spoke shave. And with that, again, imagine the line in the middle, and so we'll put that in just so I can show you. And so again, with that, if you imagine the line, you're pulling towards you and shaping like that. And then for the neck part, you're working downwards, again pulling towards you. If you were to try and go all the way, you'll get a really rough result, and it'll be all torn out here and just, really hard to fix up later. Cool, so now we've done the back, we can start on the handle. So we're going to take the straight knife again, and we're going to just take long cuts off the edge. And you can just kind of work those corners off to round it out. You just go bit by bit. And you want to be aiming for those nice long kind of shavings. Just work each edge. Until you've rounded that off. And then if you wanted to keep the bottom flat, you can do that, or you can, if you want to make it round, you just take off those edges too. And again, just work your way around until it's cut off. So this is the finished one. When you've worked off those edges and then rounded off the bottom, you would then sand, and hopefully you'll have a nice finish so you won't have to sand too much. I would start with the 120. I wouldn't go any lower grit than that. So start with the 120, sand it all through, of course going with the grain, and then you can move up 120, 180, 240 until you get to around 360, and then you have that really nice kind of sheen on it, and it's ready for oil. Usually I use tung oil, which is a natural kind of oil, and it's food safe. So you can use that on cooking spoons. And then once that's dried, I will finish it with beeswax and mineral oil. Yeah, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks.
begin with affectionate elements. No, nothing is affectionate. Instructions shrug. No, nothing is warm. We are twisted, frowning, twisted. No, the dog is nothing. We are precise. We are involved.
Hi there, my name's Maggie Stein. I'm a lino print artist. I've been doing this for about 15 years after first learning it in the 1980s at the City Art Institute in Sydney. So this is lino. It's made of wood pulp and glue, a binder pushed into a burlap or hessian backing. It's very affordable and accessible. If you want to start a lino, grab a piece of lino and a Sharpie. You can draw an image into the lino and then start carving with some simple tools made by Speedball and the like. These days I prefer these file tools, which are Swiss. They're made of a really nice hardened steel, so you can sharpen them well, and they feel great in the hand. So I've been working on this print of the Sandringham. I really love doing reduction lino prints, which are basically, the name reduction comes from reducing the amount of lino on the one single piece of the block. So as you can see here, there's like about 8 or 9 colours on the print. I also mask off areas before I start because I don't want all the colours over the whole block. So I did the sky first, then the pale mauvey colour of the back of the building, the background of the building. Then I've come in with the darker colours. So this is what it looks like at the moment, the print, and this is the final colour, the Prussian blue and black colour that will be applied today. So at this stage, the lino is really fragile because most of the lino on the surface has been carved away and there's still a few little bits coming through there. So I'm simply going to use one of these Speedball rollers and roll the ink on the glass, and that sound of the ink kind of is really something that I love about the process. It's just, you know, exactly when that sound happens, that's just right. So it's just like lots of things in life. When you hit the sweet spot, you're just going well. So I'm rolling ink sort of over the surface of what isn't cut. That's the only part of the lino that will pick up the ink. Because there's not much up here, I have to be careful to just roll the roller over the raised areas of the lino so the inside bits don't pick up the ink and make too many marks at this stage. And I've got this other trick that I do to get the edges. You just tilt the roller a little bit like this and make sure those edges get printed up really well, because the edges, they just need to be strong. So then we gently take the lino, put it on this registration board, which has got bits of cardboard down the bottom, and that allows the lino to be in the exact same place for every printing. And there's these pegs up here, these pins that are made by Turns Burton, and they line up with the tabs on the print. So that means the ink always goes in the right place. So to do the print, you have to line up the tabs like this, push the metal bit through, and you'll notice I'm holding the paper off the lino so I don't get anything sort of printing when it's not in the exact right spot. Then you just simply drop it down, give it a bit of a smooth, one of my rituals. And then I'm using a ball bearing Baron. These are made by Roz Keane here in Sydney actually. And there's lots of little tiny ball bearings suspended in plastic, and that rolls over the surface of the paper. And as you can imagine, the ink from underneath on the lino is being transferred as I go onto the paper. You might think, oh, it's all pretty tricky, but there are things you can do, like you can actually, with these pegs, because it's all sitting there properly, if you don't have enough ink on your lino, you can check, you can peel it up, you can put it back down again because you're not taking the whole thing off. Because I've done about 15 prints today, there's a fair bit of build-up of the ink on the lino already, so I don't need to apply as much new ink. You might be able to see there's a little bit not coming through there on the edge. So I'm just, I use these soup spoons. I collect them. I've got about 4 of them now. I'm an avid op shopper. I use the end of the soup spoon for my fine detail. I just love I just love it because it's old. I'm just really into old and worn things that have had a previous life. I feel like I can kind of feel the energy of that life through the tools I use, if that makes sense. So I think that's getting pretty ready to take off. So I'm going to release the pins and just checking. There's always, at this point, I could still put it back down again if I had to, but I think it's pretty good. So I'm just going to pull it off gently like this. And there it is, ready to go behind me on the table with the other 9 prints. And I've got 2 more to do today before I can go around the corner to the gasoline pony. And that's about it. So if you wanted to do what I really love about lino printing is that you can actually do it anywhere. I started doing it when I had 3 kids under 7 on the kitchen table at home. And basically it's not that toxic, so kitchen table does work okay. You just need a bit of Perspex or plastic to roll ink onto. The roller, spatula, inks, you can get really good value water-based ones as well by Derivan and Speedball. You need some simple tools. Speedball makes good ones again, and a bit of lino. So yeah, making things like your own greeting cards or just really simple things can be really satisfying, and it's also just a very therapeutic art. And so I love the fact that it's accessible to all. So yeah, thanks for watching.
I don't like anthropomorphizing animals. But penguins are cute. I'm always worried when I wake up that the hilarious joke I made up in my dream will turn out to be not so funny in real life. It's like rain on your wedding day. for 12 years. And then I'm asking for it back. Like sun under your fingernails, or the parties of alley cats. It's like Alanis Morissette trying to be ironic. It's a sky without birds. Reseal for freshness. Scratch pickup for creepiness. This poem is accompanied by a record and should not be sold separately. Yes, it is a competition. What if my minimal house just looks unfashionably bare? I try to imagine being the sort of person who says, "my wife," or to be called Gemma. Remember when email was spelled with a hyphen? Poetry shouldn't make you feel stupid. For art, substitute violence. We are like jelly in the rain. If a leaf falls on the accelerator,
Today I was going to show you the way I create my birds. I started off as a printmaker and then for one reason I started to cut up my prints. So often I'll print on paper, and these have been created with plywood, where I've used pressed flowers, inked pressed flowers up onto wood and ink and paper. Or sometimes I'll use paper. My materials are pressed flowers, lino print, my tools that I use. Often use white ink, and then of course I'd make a bit more. So with the bird, I always use archival glue. I draw the shape of the bird on black paper, so often the paper is stuck onto the black paper to give me the shape. Some glue. So I've just started this. So here's a wing from a piece of lino print. I did have a duller brown piece of paper, but I decided this was a better. So you can see here I've got the black piece of paper where I've stuck the paper, and I've already started the legs. So there's a bit of blue for the thing. So I always use my fingers because the glue never really works for me, so it always ends up with very sticky fingers. So I'll just finish this. And then often for the eye or the beak, I've got some really nice textured lino prints. So I'll often find an eye or a beak I can find as some nice textured paper. It's a bit like Blue Peter. I should have one that I've already done. I've got a grey background here. So another material that is good it's called Easy Carve. It's made out of plastic, and you can cut it easily with a Stanley knife, or you can carve it with the lino print tool. So it's very easy, and it actually lasts a long time. I'm just going to mix some ink, and I'll show you. With just a little bit of black ink. I usually end up getting very messy. I need a bit more white. These are just Caligo. It's water-based printing ink. It's very easy to. So you can just do a nice flat surface. Get your Easy Carve. I do have a book binding press that I use, but this is quite easy just to use on your hands. Decide where you'd like the ink to go. Just press hard on the Easy Carve. So that's quite a nice effect with the grey. What I'm going to do next is add a bit of blue to, I'm going to press some leaves and maybe a touch of black. You can just see what happens if I... I've got a large press at home, so I'm just always picking up leaves from the street, and so you can just ink pressed leaves. So if I'm going to have the bird here, I might... It's just all about placement, and it's working out how the image looks within a square. I probably should use the press, but I'll just press hard with this, with some paper, just to show you. So I've just got a book binding press here, so I can lay the leaf on. Just a couple of turns. There's space here. So this is quite effective using the press leaves with the black ink. I'm just going to do another type of leaf because the fairy wrens like a sort of small bushy plants to sit in. I like the squeeze. So this is a bookbinding press, but I've used it for a long time for printing liner prints. Good for the arm muscles. So we'll just check to see how this came out. It's quite nice with the fine lines of the plant. So then I often use paper. So I've got all sorts of different types of green paper, and then it's a matter of just playing with the scissors. So you could just cut leaves, different shades of green. Also, another product I use sometimes you can use a mixed media paper. This one is called Yupo. I think it's a Japanese paper, and it has a really lovely effect with paint. I don't know if you can see this, but just you can get it really nice and streaky, just the water base, so you can get some really nice textures. I mean, often my lino prints are often mistakes, so all those funny little misregistration pieces of paper that I've printed, and you get all these lovely surprises and mistakes, and that's the sort of beauty of printmaking. Back to the fairy wren. So I'm just going to cut a little eye out. And then I'll stick him down. Sometimes when I'll paint the eye, it's just sort of adding the white dot in the eye. It just feels like it makes the bird come alive. So I'm often sort of just studying what makes that bird that shape. What is the beak or the certain texture in the feather that makes it the bird it is? So yes, this is sort of, it really is just playing and having fun, and then you know exactly when it's the, you know, you've got the balance in the square and the, so I'll just quickly glue these down. Always sort of using my fingers for some reason, but it just seems the easiest way to. Well, sometimes I'll use the press to make sure that things are nice and flat. leg doesn't want to stay down. And then sometimes some black for contrast is nice. So my children always laugh when well, they're adults now, but they always laugh because I always come home with my handbag full of leaves and funny bits of paper and stuff that I found on the streets.
blizzard, violent and very cold wind, which is loaded with snow, some of which has been raised from snow-covered ground. Cirrus cloud, high cloud, delicate, hair-like and feathery looking. Cumulonimbus, heavy, puffy, heaped, dark cloud of very great vertical depth, often bringing rain. Cumulus, clouds with a woolly, heaped appearance that often produce rain. Drizzle, fairly uniform precipitation, composed exclusively of very small water droplets, very close to one another. Fog, a dense mass of small water droplets or particles in the lower atmosphere. Frost, soft white ice crystals or frozen dewdrops on objects near the ground, formed when surface temperature falls below freezing point. Hail, falling particles of ice, usually spheroid, conical, or irregular in form. Hail falls from clouds either separately or collected into irregular lumps. Haze, state of atmospheric obscurity. A uniform veil over the landscape that subdues its colors. When viewed against a dark background, e.g. a mountain, it has a bluish tinge, but it has a dirty yellow or orange tinge